Well, hello, my brother or sister CNCer. I am Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I'd like to welcome you to this little tip video when it comes to the Vectric software. I had got an email from a guy named Mike who is trying to solve a little bit of a problem. He is creating a 3D model. I think he's doing it on a table where he's carving a creek through the table, and he wants to remove the creek material down to the bank level. And he's got some fish in it and things like that. You'll see in a minute. But he was asking me in the email, how does he carve out the creek to get it down to the level that he wants? So this video is going to teach you a little technique or one technique in order to make that happen. Now you'll understand this as we get into the video. So just before I start, if you're brand new to Vectric software, then I've got a lot of videos on this channel that will teach you from the basic ground up type of thing and get you going at this stuff a lot faster and help you to understand the Vectric software and how to use it to your best advantage. So you might want to subscribe to the channel. I also talk about CNC routers and teach you how to use those things. All right, so let's dive into the Vectric software, and I'll show you the issue that Mike is asking me to solve for him, and then I'll show you how I'm solving this issue. So let's get going. Okay, we are in Vectric VCarve Pro, and the things I'm going to be showing you will work in the VCarve desktop and the Aspire version as well. So this is the project that Mike is working on. So you can see it is like a creek with fish in it. There's a couple of sticks. There's a starfish. And it's going through what looks like it's going to be the middle of a table. So he'll be doing a resin fill on this, I believe. So it's kind of a cool project. But the problem that Mike is having is he doesn't know how to carve out this creek. Now I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to reset this preview, and I'm going to simply highlight the tool paths that Mike sees at this point. And this is what he has. So you can see that the creek itself is not carved out at this point, and he is wondering how to get to the point where he can carve out that creek. So that's what we're going to work on, and I'm going to show you one technique to make this happen based on the project that Mike has, which is a fairly complex project to be working on. This is the beginning of the project here. Now what he has done is he has placed several 3D models in this. So he has this creek bank there, a creek bank here. So it looks like he's got 4 creek banks on each side. So this is kind of cool what he's got. And then he's got the 3D models of the fish inside and the starfish right there. And you can see on our 3D screen what he has right there. I'll just switch over to the 3D real quick and zoom it up. And so you can see he's got all those models in there. Let's just get that rotated right for you. And so now he needs to get rid of the creek, and that's where he's struggling at. So we're going to walk through this whole process right here. So I'm going to switch over to the 2D view, and what we're looking at right now are some construction lines that Mike has created. If you don't know how these construction lines are created, it's very easy. All you have to do is come up to the scale bar up on the top or on the side, and while you're there you simply just click your left mouse button and drag a line down, and now we've created one. So you can do a lot with this. I will do another video on these things. So the first thing I want to do is create some layers to work with. So layers are like different sheets of paper, so I can work with individual items as desired. So we're going to create some layers. So right here is the layers, and we're going to click that blue bar, and we have one layer. So one of the things that we already know that we have are 3D components in this drawing. So I'm going to make a layer dedicated to those 3D components. So I am going to select the word layer 1 by clicking on it once, and it turns blue so I can edit it. And I'm simply going to call it 3D components. And then I'll just click over in the white space. I'm going to click in the drop down box, And now we have named that 3D components, and you can see up here 3D components is listed. So now we want to make boundaries around all these 3D components. And so we're going to create a layer to help us with that. And so what we do is come down and add new layer. Now you're going to understand why I'm doing this in just a little bit. But I'm going to click add new layer, and now you see there's another layer added here. So we're going to call this boundary. We're going to call it boundary, B-O-U-N-D-A-R-Y, all. And I'm just simply going to click right in here to engage that name, and now you can see it's there. So now we want to identify the creek itself. So we're going to create a new layer for the creek, and we're going to add a new layer, click it, and now we have another layer, and we're going to call this Creek Clear, or we can call it Clearwater. That's a good name, Clearwater. Okay, I'm going to click right here, and we are going to click the black box right next to it, because I'm going to change the color of the lines that are going to be created. So I'm going to click that and click a color that I want. I'm going to click red, and we are good to go. So first of all, we want to get to the boundary layer, the boundary all layer, and because we want to create a boundary around all our 3D models. Now I've got a video that discusses this whole thing about why we're doing a boundary. It's one of the techniques to work with in 3D models. So I will put a link down below for that video. It walks you through a rooster and how we 3D carve a simple 3D model carve and how to get that set up. We are on boundary all. It says it right up here. So that's our confirmation that we were on that layer. And so now what we're going to do is come over to any corner above and away from our project. So we're just going to go from the upper left to the lower right, and we're going to create a box that's going to encompass the entire 3D model, just like that. And you can see everything in the 3D model is now highlighted. Okay, so now we're going to create a boundary around that model. Now if you have less than version 11 in the Vectric software, you're going to have some blue tabs down at the bottom on the left side. If you have version 11, the tabs are over here on the left and the upper side along the side panel. What you want to do is go to those tabs, and we're going to go to the modeling tab. We're going to select that, and the first thing is you're going to see all these items in your list, and we want to make sure that they are all highlighted a dark blue. When we created that window around it and selected everything, that's what we have. We got the highlighted dark blue. I'll show you. I'm just simply going to click right here, and it unhighlighted those, and you can see they're no longer highlighted. So we're going to create that window around everything again and grab it, and now everything's dark blue. So what you want to do is find an icon that says create vector boundary around selected components, and so this is the icon that we're going to use. And all we have to do is click it once, and we're done. So now we just click out here in the field, and I'm going to show you what that just did. We'll go up to the layers section right here in the blue box, click it, and we're going to hit the little light bulb next to 3D components. And what that's going to do is that's going to make the 3D components all invisible. So I click that, and now you see we have some lines here. That's what we just created by clicking that button, create vector boundary around selected objects. All the items are selected, and by clicking that button, we created boundaries around all the 3D models that were there. So you can see there's the fish and the starfish and the sticks and the bank of the creek. So we are good to go so far, but now, well, we need to use this boundary in order to carve this 3D model, but we're going to take advantage of the boundary we just created so we can carve out the creek. We want to get rid of all the material inside the creek here, but we don't want to touch the fish or the stick or the starfish. So what we're going to do is we're going to change layers now and create some new vectors on a new layer that's going to outline the creek itself. So we come up to layers, click it again, and we're going to come down and select creek clear. You select that and you see it says creek clear up here. And that means we're on the layer that we want to be on. So now we're going to just click out in the white space to get rid of this menu box. So you click there and that menu box goes away. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy all these vectors over to this new layer. Right now they are on boundary all layer. If I go and turn a little light bulb off on boundary all, they go away. So that's my confirmation that it's on that layer. But we have nothing on creek clear layer. So we're going to copy everything over to creek clear layer. So we're going to click one of these vectors and you notice everything turned solid purple. That means that all the vectors that we created are grouped. If it came out as dashed, then they are not grouped and you would have to select every item in there in order to do this copy. But it's a good thing that it's grouped. We want that. It makes it much easier. And so while everything is selected pink or purple, anywhere on the screen, we're going to right click and we're going to get a menu up. And we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to go to copy to layer. And we're going to click creek clear. And what that's going to do is copy everything that's selected over to creek clear. It will not remove it from the original layer it's on. It's just simply going to copy it. So I click that. And so now you can see all the lines turned red. If you remember, we turned creek clear red color right here. So that means we now have it on there. But the thing is, it's still on the boundary layer as black. The creek clear copy is sitting on top of the black line. So we don't want to mess with that right now. So what we're going to do is come over and we're going to just click the little light bulb next to boundary all. We're going to turn that off. We want it out of our way and we don't want to fiddle with it. And so now we're simply going to click out here into space to close this menu, and at the same time it'll deselect anything that might have been selected, which is what we want. So now we are on the creek clear layer, and that's the only layer turned on. And now we need to ungroup all these vectors because now we have to isolate the creek. So we're going to select that vector, and again, everything's grouped because it came in solid purple. I'm going to ungroup it. With everything selected, I can go anywhere on the screen, right click again, and you'll see down in the middle of the menu it says ungroup objects. So when you hover over that, a new menu appears next to it. One says ungroup back to original object layers, and the other one says ungroup onto groups layer. If you select this button here, the first one, it's going to ungroup it, but it's going to copy it back over to the first layer that we were working with, which was boundary all. So you want to select the second one, ungroup onto groups layer. Now I don't know why they say onto groups layer. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's what we want. And we click it and you can see everything is now dashed. That means it's all ungrouped. And that means if I select an item like the fish, only the fish is going to be highlighted, or the creek, a part of the creek will be highlighted. So, but that's exactly what we wanted. So now we are going to isolate this creek. So we're going to come up to the top of the creek right here. And I'm simply going to click right here for right now because I want to deselect this part of the creek. So I click there. We're going to go back over to these little blue tabs we have over in the drawing area. Remember, if you have less than version 10 in the Vectric software, your tabs will be down here. If you have version 11, they will be up here in the left, along the left side. And we're going to go to the drawing tab. Click that. Now you want to make sure that your snap buttons are turned on. That's this button and this button. They're turned on when they have a little box around them. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click that one snap button and you see that box around it went away. So we want it turned on. And the reason is because we're going to draw some lines and we want the lines to grab to the lines that we are going to be selecting. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So what we're going to do is grab a straight line right here, the polyline, and select that. And we're going to zoom in to the end of the creek. Now, Mike, just so you know, your creek is not going all the way to the end of the table. I don't think it's going to make a difference here, but you just may want to pay attention to that and maybe stretch this out a little bit. I'll show you how to do that real quick. We're going to select that. And so we just have that part of the creek, and we're going to hit N for node, and I'm going to create a window right there. We'll come all the way around those nodes there. And while that's selected, we're just going to grab one of these nodes and just stretch it upwards. And now we have crossed over. So that's one way you can fix that. And then we would go back to our line. Hit the escape button to get out of node mode. We're going to come back to our line, and we're going to just create a line from, well, because I created that line is going to come from this intersection point right there. And the snaps are turned on, so we can do exactly what we did. You see the line snapped right to the intersection of the end of the project and where this curved line crosses over. And we're simply going to come over and we're going to find this corner right there. Now, again, you want to fix this part as well, Mike, but I'm not going to do that in this. I just want to show you how to get to carving out in the middle of 3D projects. So I click that, and now we have that line going all the way across. Now you see I still have a line going, and I don't want to continue to draw that line. So I'm going to hit the space bar, and what that's going to do is terminate that line, but I am still in line mode. You can tell by my cursor it has a zigzag on it. That means we are in drawing straight lines. So we can start a new line. So we're going to go to the other end of this drawing and do the same thing. We're going to find a point that's at the bottom and to the right just a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want my line to cross over a very thin area right there. It's going to cause some issue in when we're trying to carve things out. So we're going to select a little bit over and to the right, and I grab that, and we're going to come over to the other side. We've got that little corner there, and we're going to let it snap right there. And then we're going to hit space. We're good. I'm going to hit escape to get out of line mode. Okay, now we're about done with this. All we have to do now is just turn the creek into the creek. So what we're going to do is get the scissors, and we're going to cut the outer banks of the creek boundary line off. So right here, I'm going to click that, and I'm going to cut that, and now we have our creek. And this is our creek definition. So we are ready to carve this out.
And now we are ready to set up the tool paths for the creek. So we've got it isolated the way we needed to, so that Mike's project and whatever 3D projects you do when you're using multiple 3D components, you'll be able to clean out the inside just like what we're going to be doing here. So just follow along closely. And if this is helping you out at all, then give me a thumbs up. I'd love to have that. And if you feel like this video is helping you out in any way, shape, or form, buy me a cup of coffee. Really, I love my coffee strong with a little bit of cream. There's a donation link down below that says, buy me a cup of coffee. And it's literally buymeacupofcoffee.com. So you can go to that, and it helps me out doing this content. It takes a lot of time to edit this stuff. So anyway, let's get back into this. Let's start setting up to run the tool path for this creek. Let's go.
So I'm going to close the cutting. I'm going to switch over to the tool path. And we're just going to take a look at what we've got right now. So this little button here, it says preview tool paths. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to simply preview all tool paths to see what we have so far. And so you remember we have all the carves. We have the starfish buried down in the wood. We have a fish buried down in the wood. We have the banks buried in the wood, but the creek is up way high. So this is exactly what we're going to fix right now. So I'm going to close this preview toolpaths menu, and we're going to split our screen by hitting this little button right up here in the upper rightish area. It's that little square split in the middle button. Click that. And so what we want to do is pocket out everything around in the water. So we just simply are taking the water level down to where it should be. So we are going to click the pocketing toolpath right here, and that will clear out material inside of boundaries that we create, which is what we've created over here in the 2D area. We've created creek boundaries. So I select that button, and I think this project is an inch thick. So what we're going to do, first of all, we click the pocketing, and then we have to select our boundaries. So we're going to select everything in the 2D view. So it's all highlighted pink, and that's what we have. And then we are going to select the depth of cut. So I was practicing a little bit on this before and found that depth of cut is about 0.7 to get the water level down to where he's going to go. So I've set it up at 0.7, and then we need to select the clearance bits that we're going to be using. I know that this has got some pretty funny tight shapes in here. We need to get into the corners right up in here, and a 1/4 inch end mill will not get in there. So we have to use a smaller bit, but we also want to use a big bit in order to get as much of this taken out as fast as possible. So we're selecting 2 bits. Where it says tools, we have the 1/4 inch end mill and the 1/8 inch end mill. Now if you need to select those bits, all you just do is keep selecting bits. So I'll show you. We'll just pick a 1/16 real quick. I'm going to hit select, and I'm just going to select the 1/16 inch end mill, and there you can see it's been added to this list. So if you need to get some finer cleanup going on, then that's the way you do it. And if your bits are out of order, then you use the arrow buttons over here to get them in order. You should always want this to go from biggest to smallest. So I'm going to select that and click the remove button because I don't want it. And then we are going to just see. Okay, so I am set on offset. I'm not going to discuss that here because I've talked about that in other videos. This is just to show you the creek thing. We're going to name our tool path. We're going to call it Creek Clear. And we're going to calculate. So I have to go to Vector Validator. And I'm going to continue anyway because I want to see what it's creating. Vector Validator means that we have an issue in there, and it's going to ignore some things if it has to. But it looks like we're in pretty good shape. So what Vector Validator, I know exactly what went wrong. Okay. It would be right here. I've got this little weird spot right there. So what we're going to do is simply fix that real quick. You know we got this little pull-out tab that brings out the menu. So this is for quick fixes. I'm going to grab the scissors. I'm going to come in and I'm simply going to cut that away and close that. And then we are going to go back into that tool path. Creek Clear. Either one, there's 2 of them because we've got the 1/4 inch bit right there and the 1/8 inch bit right there, but you can click either one, it'll take you into the same tool path. And I just want to make sure that creek is still selected, which it's not now because we modified that line. So hold your shift button down and select the creek outline. And there it is. I'm going to recalculate this, and we will not get that warning this time. And we are good to go. Now see how the menu is still hanging out up here? I don't want that, so I'm going to click the blue button to get rid of it, and we are going to reset that tool path, and now everything is good to go. Now we're going to preview all tool paths, but let's get this big first so we can see it all. When we reset the tool path, it takes away all the carve that we would have had there. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to clear this out real quick. You see, it just takes us back to that board. Now I'm going to preview all tool paths. That's going to run all the tool paths we have created there. So I select that, and you can see the bit is now starting to run out. And now we have cleared out the creek. Now you see our banks are a little bit high here, right in this area. So you might have to modify and do a little tilting on the 3D models. I can talk about that in another video, or you can go to Mike Mazelik's channel. He does a lot of advanced 3D modeling stuff. Very, very, very good with the Vectric Aspire. So we're looking good there. You can see I've got a little bit of a couple of pieces sticking up here. That's because I would need a finer bit, like a 16th, to get into there. But 16ths aren't long enough to get into this depth. So I mean, we could possibly make this creek a little bit shallower, but if we do, we will start to come up high on the fishes and what have you. So my resolution is set a little low on this, I think. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to switch over back over to here, and I'm going to go to Job Setup right there, because I want to see what my resolution is set up on. So we've got the resolution set on high. In this case, we'd probably want to go very high. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to select OK. Let the computer do its stuff. I'm going to switch back over to Toolpath. I'm going to recalculate everything by clicking the little calculator button there. Now my computer resolution won't make this show up really good, but you can see now it's taking a little longer to calculate this thing out. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So it's just taking a little bit longer because I'm using a lot higher resolution. And let's see what she looks like. We're going to reset the preview, and we're going to run all toolpaths. And I mean, it doesn't make stuff look a lot better. It's just the resolution of my computer. It's looking like you might need to raise the base height up on your fishes and things like that, Mike, a little bit. I've got other videos. I'll put links down for the rooster video that I think talks about it. I have another video that will talk about it as well. So the links will be down below to teach you more about the 3D models and how to work with them. Okay, so let's just kind of doctor this up so you see exactly what we have completed. I'm going to go to Toolpath Color. And by the way, if you're finding this video helpful, then subscribe and give me a like. I would love a like. And if you're gaining something out of this, please contribute. Buy me a cup of coffee. Now, I have a link below where you can literally buy me a cup of coffee, and it just shows that I'm giving you the right content to help you along. If you have gotten over a hump because of this, or you are able to get to the next level from the things I'm showing you, you just gained a little bit of new knowledge. Okay, so let's change the color. We're going to turn the creek into a blue creek. So I'm going to select Toolpath Color. And I want to make sure down in the toolpath area that one of the creek things is selected. So we have creek clear is selected in the bottom. We're going to select a nice bluish color, a nice light, pretty blue. We'll take that one right there. Now you see I gained some color in my toolpath. Now that's the finishing tool, the finishing bit. That's the 1/8 bit. We still have to change the 1/4 inch bit. So I got to come over here and select that 1/4 inch path, and come up here and change the color for that as well. So I'm going to select the same blue, and look at that. Look at that. We got a beautiful creek running through this thing. So that's something what Mike is going to be doing when he's done with this. You still got a bit of work to do on this, Mike. You're really going to some advanced stuff here. So you might want to go over and check out Mike Mazelik's channel. I'll put a link to that down in the description as well. Mike teaches some pretty advanced 3D stuff. You'll pick up a lot of little tips on that too.
All right, so we have one more tip that you really want to take into account when you're doing this stuff. This project is a deep cut project. So you want to think about the order of operations with the toolpaths we just created. Now I'm going to explain this as I get into this, but this is really, really important. Save you from breaking bits and other issues you're going to have. So let's get back into Vectric. I'll show you what I mean.
What do we want to remove first out of this? And I would say that you would want to run the roughing creek toolpath first with the 1/4 inch bit, then go into your carving of your 3D stuff and then come back with the finishing bit, the 1/8 bit, to clean up your creek. And the reason for that is you want to get all the big stuff out of the way with the big bits and then move on to the smaller bits. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to come over here and close this up here, and we're going to look at our toolpath. So right now I know that the first one is a 1/4 inch bit. And so that is the biggest bit that we're going to be working with. Now before I go into that, these two tool paths up on top here, we're going to just check them, that one and that one. These are your 3D tool paths. So we're going to click into one of these, and we've clicked into the top one, and you can see that this is the 1/4 inch end mill as well. So we want to make this optimal, so we want to run everything with the 1/4 inch first and then start working down to our smaller bits. So I'm going to cancel this or close it, and what I'm going to do is select the clear, the creek clear 1. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to use this little arrow right here to move it up 1. Matter of fact, I'll probably move it up to the top, so it'll clear out the creek first, and then it'll come in and clear out the 3D roughing, and then we have the finishing 1/8 ball nose, which is, I'm going to double click into that, and you can see that right here. It says ball nose 1/8, and then we have the 1/8 flat bottom bit right there. So here you see I'm guessing. This is why when I normally name my tool paths, I always put the bit in the name. For example, the creek clear, which is the 1/8 flat bottom bit. I'm going to right click that, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to come to the end, I'm going to type in 1/8EM, and that way I know it's the 1/8 bit. That's a flat bottom end mill. So I'm going to just click that, and so now we have the name here. The 3D finish is, we'll rename that to 1/8 BN. Now I don't use slashes or hyphens or anything like that, because when it writes the G code for this, it's going to change those figures to underscores. It will not use periods or slashes. And these two are the 1/4 inch end mills. So I'm simply going to change the name of that. Rename at the end. I'm going to say 14EM. I would think a little bit more about these tool paths and how they're named if I were doing them. So again, that's 1/4 EM. So now we've changed the names of these, and now we know what bits we're working with. So okay, it's the order of bits. So the 1/4 inch flat bottom end mills, those are first. That's going to take care of all your roughing. Then we're going to use the finishing 1/8 ball nose, because the majority of the bottom of the creek is taken out, and then it'll finish up with the 1/8 flat bottom. Now you might want to think about using the 1/8 ball nose as your clearing bit, second clearing bit on the creek if you wanted to. But I just want you to take that in mind, because this will make it more efficient. It'll also save you bits, because you're getting pretty deep in this project, so you always want to think about that as well. So if this video is helpful, thumbs up, and if it took you to the next level, please buy me a cup of coffee. And subscribe if you want to learn more about this stuff. I got so many videos for you on this channel for the beginner. If you want to know about CNC routers, I got that too. This is Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. I hope you have a great day, better tomorrow, and happy CNC.